Well, I put on the blindfold and I felt like there's a wall.
How was that for a little tease? From Asia News Weekly, you're listening to Asia Now, a collection of stories and interviews from the Asia Pacific region. It was perhaps the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. Walk in a straight line. I wasn't inebriated, but you'll have to hear this tale from Indonesia to believe it. It's just one story from Asia now. Welcome to Asia Now. I'm your host, Steve Miller. Those that have known me for a very long time know that I started out in online video and then moved into radio and television before launching these podcasts. During that period, I didn't necessarily cover the news, but I was really focused on sharing compelling travel stories. And because of my travel expertise, I even still regularly appear on various radio programs in South Korea discussing travel destinations, which brings me to today's topic, Yogyakarta. It is located in central Java. It's the capital of a special region there, and it is said to be the cultural soul of Indonesia's largest island. It is a beautiful place, and is actually probably one of my top 3 locations in all of Indonesia to travel to. It's home to several important cultural assets like Borobudur Temple, Prambanan Temple, and you can even have some amazing shopping experiences there, picking up batik, intricate silver pieces, and of course souvenirs along Malioboro Street. But that is not what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about a very special pair of banyan trees located in the city's central park. It is a large grassy park located behind the Sultan's palace, and in the middle of this grassy field are 2 banyan trees. And today they are surrounded by white picket fences, so you can no longer go up and climb in them, but you can walk between them. And that is very important to our story today. You see, it is believed that the 2 banyan trees hold a mythical raja, or traditional tattoo, and it functions to keep the Sultan's palace free from any perils. It's believed that only those that have a pure heart, that have no evil intentions in them, can pass between the 2 banyan trees. Now, the catch to this is that you have to walk from one side of the park to the other, through the trees, while blindfolded. And believe it or not, most aren't successful. Don't believe me? Well, here's my wife Joanne sharing her experience from our honeymoon.
I thought it would be so easy. I had it in my mind, okay, I'll just put on my blindfold and walk straight. I thought that was it.
And what happened?
Well, I put on the blindfold and I felt like there's a wall in front of me and I can't get my bearings straight, and I thought I was walking straight, and when I took off the blindfold I was way out there, totally away from the trees.
Of course, I had the benefit of watching her try to make this attempt, and I will attest that she would probably take only 2 or 3 steps forward before veering off to one direction or the other. Now, joining me now is Siska, and she is a longtime listener to both my videos and the podcast, and she actually tried to cheat her way through.
The others need to go straight, and then 1 step to the left, 2 steps to the right, something like that. And then you need to go through the 2 trees.
And even with the help, you weren't able to make it through? So as you can see, it is very difficult to get through, even when you're cheating. So I think there may actually be something to that pure heart and no evil intention mythology. Now, I can't end this episode without retelling my personal story. So, as I mentioned before, my wife and I were there on our honeymoon, and we were actually at the park late at night. And it was also after a fairly recent rainstorm. So specifically around the trees, there was a lot of water. So in my mind, I knew that if I was walking forward and my feet started to get wet, I was doing pretty well. On my first attempt, I really veered off quite quickly. I didn't even get close. So on my second attempt, I really tried to clear my mind. I paid attention to my surroundings. And when I placed the blindfold on, I could imagine this purple sensation. In fact, I could see two of them, almost like sonar waves flashing in my mind's eye. And I knew those were the trees. And in my ears, I could have a really good representation of everything around me. Because this park, as I said, is in the city center. It's right behind the Sultan's palace. So there was a lot of noise. So I slowly stepped forward, carefully trying to make sure that I was going in a straight line. And after a minute or two, I could feel my feet getting wet. So I knew I was in the right direction. But after a few more steps, something bizarre happened. And to this day, I really can't explain it. What happened was everything went dark. It's almost as if my wife, how she explained it, a wall came in front of you. I couldn't see or hear anything. And you might be saying, oh, well, you have the blindfold on. But remember, I had that purple image, that sonar waves. They were with me up until a certain point, and then all of a sudden, I lost them. I couldn't see them. Everything went black. And the noise around me also ceased. Everything stopped. It went quiet. I had no idea where I was. And I stood still for what seemed like 3 or 4 minutes, trying to get my bearings, before I took another step. And then I took another step. And then I took another step. At which point my wife told me to stop. I thought I had successfully navigated the trees. My wife told me that I stopped right before passing through the 2 trees. And when I continued, I turned almost 90 degrees and walked away from the trees. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why it happened, but I will tell you this. I will swear up and down that I was walking straight. So as Maxwell Smart used to say, I missed it by that much. So before I close out this episode, I have to ask, have you been to Yogyakarta and have you tried to navigate the twin banyan trees? Were you successful, or did you fail like me and everyone else I know? Or if you've been to some other place in the world with similar mystical characteristics, be sure to leave your story in the comments on Facebook or Twitter. Okay, that will just about do it for today's episode. Don't forget, you can download all of our shows from our website, iTunes, Stitcher, and of course, TuneIn Radio. If you really enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and subscribe so you won't miss the next one. It's free and it doesn't cost you anything. If you use iTunes or Stitcher, could you do me a huge favor and take just a few seconds to rate and review the show? It's how podcasts are featured and it would mean a great deal to me. If you want to get in contact with me, you can of course do that through Facebook or Twitter. The address on Facebook is facebook.com/Asian News Weekly or @Asian News Weekly on Twitter. You can also send an email to the show with questions or feedback. Just drop a line to asiannewsweekly@gmail.com. Well, thank you again for joining me today. Thank you so much for listening. For Asia Now, I'm Steve Miller. Asia Now is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License.